The life of the main male character is extremely unfortunate. Whatever he does, nothing goes smoothly. He intends to end his own life. Even when he plans to hang himself to commit suicide, he cannot carry it out. Misfortune always clings to him. He thinks that if he keeps living like this, it really loses all meaning. One day, Sasaki sees a letter in his room. Then, he goes to the hospital for a health checkup. As expected, his future looks extremely bleak. The doctor examines him and concludes that he only has 2 years left to live. That summer, Sasaki receives the news that he is about to die. Because his life has been stained with darkness, he thinks that enduring 2 more years won't be a problem. Sasaki continues to live his life as before. He still throws himself into gambling games. When he is about to leave the casino, the creditors come looking for him. That group of people wants him to go outside to talk things over more clearly. Just as he leaves, the place where he was playing hits a big jackpot. The creditors immediately call to inform him that he has won a large sum. However, Sasaki ran away before they could catch him. After running for a while, he successfully escaped from them. Unexpectedly, he continued to fall into debt. He was supposed to join the upper class. He only borrowed a little money. Yet the situation became like this. With the interest rate increasing like that, how could he possibly repay? Sasaki suddenly realized that maybe he didn't have to repay the debt anymore. After all, he only had 2 years left to live. He decided that if that's the case, he might as well borrow as much as possible. However, the creditors eventually found him. But because they were too exhausted, one of them fainted. Taking advantage of that opportunity, Sasaki ran away again. Sasaki didn't understand why his life always met with failure. When he was about to be caught by the creditors, he hurriedly climbed the stairs to hide. However, he slipped and fell into the river. The water was rushing fiercely, making it impossible for him to swim. Once again, he felt that everything in his life was meaningless. As he was sinking, he even thought that, if he died like this, could he be reincarnated into another world? But this time, luck smiled upon him. Sasaki was saved. When he opened his eyes and looked around, he clearly realized that he had not been reincarnated. The person who saved him was a young man named Takagi, and the girl with him was Hana. Their group was fishing when they heard a loud noise. At first, they thought it was a big fish, so they were very excited, thinking they had hit the jackpot. But when they pulled it up, they discovered it was him. Takagi carefully put a life jacket on him. However, Sasaki didn't care much about that. He intended to leave immediately. Takagi said that from here, the way back to the mainland was still very far. At that moment, Sasaki realized that, looking around, he discovered that he was in a place very far from the city. This place is called the offshore breakwater. It is considered a paradise for fishing enthusiasts. Takagi promised that after fishing, he would take Sasaki back to the mainland. Sasaki had no choice but to stay and wait. When he heard about fishing, Sasaki thought it was a hobby for old men. But upon closer observation, he saw that there were all kinds of people here, not just the elderly. He sensed that this group hadn't caught a single fish yet. Sasaki secretly thought that spending time playing pachinko might have a better chance of hitting the jackpot. When Sasaki turned, he saw Hana. She just cast her fishing line into the water with a very skillful move. Hana also realized that he was secretly watching her. Sasaki felt very embarrassed. Suddenly, Hana handed him the fishing rod. At that time, it was almost dawn. Hana said that this was the time when even beginners could easily catch fish. However, Sasaki declined her offer. Hana looked at him and said that if he was free, he should give it a try. She told him to see this as a chance encounter, or just think of himself as being herded like a chicken. Even so, Sasaki still shook his head and refused. Hana was determined to have him try once. She said that sometimes, just one try could change a life. Sasaki replied that he didn't have time to fish. Hearing that, Hana asked, "Then what do you spend your time on?" She felt very annoyed by Sasaki's indifferent and stubborn attitude. Seeing this, Takagi spoke up to advise Hana, saying that if he didn't like it, they shouldn't force him. Suddenly, the creditors appeared once again. No one expected they could track him down to such a remote place. They shouted continuously, demanding that Sasaki pay his debts quickly. However, at that moment, their boat suddenly changed direction. It turned out that Hana knew the captain, and she had quietly talked with him. She informed him that it was not easy to catch tuna in this area. So the captain took the initiative to take them somewhere else. Sasaki felt worried because the creditor group was very dangerous. However, Hana calmly said, "At sea, fishermen fear no one." Hearing that, Sasaki felt a bit uneasy and began to hesitate. He thought maybe he should try fishing. Takagi started to guide him. First, he explained about the bait. He said it was designed to look like a small fish to fool the big fish. Then it was Hana's turn to instruct. She said that first, you need to place your finger on the fishing line. Next is lowering the fishing rod properly. Sasaki was taught to observe his surroundings first. He had to make sure no one was standing behind him. Once safe, he could start casting the rod up. When casting, he needed to release the finger holding the fishing line. This technique is called cast. After the bait touches the water, Sasaki had to reel the rod toward himself and start turning the reel evenly. At this point, the bait would move like a real fish swimming back. Takagi told Sasaki to try again following those steps exactly. Sasaki also began to do it. He carefully followed the way Hana had just taught him. Since it was his first time, he failed immediately. However, Sasaki did not get discouraged. He tried again once more. And this time, he succeeded perfectly. Takagi was completely surprised to see him succeed on only his second try. Then, Takagi continued to give him more guidance. On the next try, Sasaki's bait flew much farther. So the whole group continued the fishing process in an excited atmosphere. After a while, the sky gradually brightened. Sasaki suddenly asked if fishing like this was really fun. Takagi smiled and replied that if it was just casting and reeling, it would indeed be boring, unless he was a real fishing enthusiast. Sasaki nodded, admitting he was not a professional angler. Takagi went on to explain that their group also didn't fish to compete with anyone. Of course, out there, some people do participate in professional fishing sports and make money from it. However, most of the people here only see fishing as a personal hobby. Fishing doesn't actually help save on food expenses at all. In fact, talking about costs, fishing is even much more expensive. Preparing equipment suitable for each type of fish takes a lot of time. The angler also has to consider factors like weather and tides. Sometimes, just after casting, the fishing line breaks, which can be very discouraging. Whether it's raining or sunny, fishing enthusiasts still have to accept it and continue. However, despite knowing the difficulties, the whole group stubbornly continues fishing. Sasaki thought for a moment, then realized he didn't understand why everyone was so persistent. After that, each member of the group took turns giving their own answers. One person said it was instinct. Another said fishing was simply fun. Someone else said the fish were so delicious it was irresistible. Finally, the group couldn't come up with a unified reason for what they were doing. Sasaki nodded, admitting that indeed there was no truly convincing answer. Suddenly, Sasaki's fishing rod trembled slightly. A fish had bitten the bait. He was very confused, not knowing what to do next. Hana quickly recognized it was a mackerel. The whole group was very surprised and praised Sasaki. They didn't expect that he could catch a fish so soon after just starting. Hana smiled and advised him to take the fish home. Everyone in the group began to show competitive spirit and was determined not to lose to a newcomer like Sasaki. Takagi turned to ask Sasaki once again, "Now, do you find fishing fun?" Sasaki hesitated, still not daring to give a clear answer. Takagi laughed loudly and said he wouldn't give up to him either. Both of them continued casting their lines. Sasaki's fishing rod was pulled strongly again. Hana explained that fish are living creatures, and so they don't want to be eaten. Sasaki whispered in agreement. That was absolutely true. He cast his line once more. While waiting, Sasaki suddenly thought. He realized that all living beings long to live. Yet, he himself was busy running away from life. While reeling in the line, suddenly another fish bit the bait. Everyone around quickly guided Sasaki on what to do next. When Sasaki lifted his fishing rod, a big fish jumped out of the water. It was a sea bass. Sasaki exclaimed, admitting that this fish pulled much harder than the one before. Hana and Takagi immediately ran over to continue guiding him. After a while of struggling, the big fish broke free from Sasaki's lure. Hana sighed and admitted that he was really lucky. Suddenly, a school of fish approached the area where they were fishing. Takagi saw this as a rare opportunity and told everyone to keep fishing. and he would explain later. The whole group quickly resumed their fishing. Everyone was very happy because they had caught a lot of fish. After some time fishing, Sasaki and the group returned to shore. On the way back, Takagi explained that the recent phenomenon was caused by small fish being chased near the surface by bigger fish. The big fish that appeared this time was sea bass. Although Sasaki didn't catch any during the school's appearance, he admitted that the sea bass he almost caught was really big, even bigger than the one Hana caught. The two began to argue about which fish was bigger. When the boat docked, the group quickly started their part-time work at the Everymart convenience store. As promised, Takagi took Sasaki home. He suggested that Sasaki cook the mackerel he had caught to eat. However, Sasaki admitted that he had no idea how to cook fish. When the two of them arrived, they were stunned to discover that Sasaki's house had been destroyed. Takagi picked up a notice and read it. Learning that this area was cleared for urban planning. All of Sasaki's belongings had been moved out. Takagi said that the scene looked just like something from a movie. Turning to look at Sasaki, he saw that Sasaki was so stunned he seemed lifeless. Sasaki couldn't understand why he had never received any prior notice. He suddenly remembered that someone had come looking for him before. But since he thought they were debt collectors, he avoided them and didn't respond. Sasaki sighed, thinking that there was nothing he could do about it now. He decided to go to his friend's house to stay temporarily, and would figure out everything else later. Sasaki mumbled, admitting, "This is life, just like in the movies." When they returned to the Everymart store, Takagi quickly prepared the mackerel Sasaki had caught. After that, they both enjoyed the meal deliciously. Hana had no idea what had happened to Sasaki. Outside, it began to rain heavily. At this moment, Sasaki had nowhere left to go. He planned to stay overnight at an internet cafe. But when he checked his wallet, he found there was not a single coin left. A cat walked by, startling him. He reached out to pet it, but the cat immediately refused and walked away. At that moment, Takagi appeared. He thought the friend Sasaki mentioned was that cat. Sasaki dismissed the idea, saying it had nothing to do with Takagi. However, Takagi knew very well Sasaki was lying. He gently advised Sasaki to follow him for a while. After a moment of hesitation, Sasaki agreed. The two returned to Takagi's house together. Inside his room were all kinds of fishing gear filling the space. Takagi offered Sasaki a glass of warm milk. Sasaki took it and drank slowly. After a few questions, Takagi quickly understood why Sasaki's house was demolished. Of course, it was because Sasaki hadn't paid the rent. The more he asked, Sasaki tried hard to come up with all kinds of excuses to hide the truth, constantly saying that he was still fine. Takagi suddenly suggested that Sasaki should work at his place. He said that the shop was currently short-staffed, so Sasaki could come and try working there. Sasaki shook his head and said that even if he helped, it would be meaningless. He said that he himself wouldn't live much longer. Takagi thought he was joking and frowned, telling him not to make such tasteless jokes anymore. Then, he advised Sasaki to just go to sleep first. The next morning, the two went to Takagi's shop together. He went in first and told Sasaki to wait outside for a moment. Sasaki was still very confused, not knowing what to do. When he stepped inside, he realized this place was not a convenience store as he had thought, but a shop specializing in fishing gear. At that moment, a customer walked in. The person who greeted the customer was Hana. Sasaki stood watching from afar and observed how she handled the sales. He was very impressed by her intelligence, skillfulness, and delicacy in dealing with the situation. The shop manager called Sasaki in to talk. After hearing clearly about his situation, he agreed to hire Sasaki. The manager asked him about his feelings toward fishing. Sasaki honestly replied that he had only tried fishing for the first time with everyone the other day. In his mind, he silently thought, is this shop only for fishermen? If I say I hate fishing, I might be rejected immediately. However, instead of lying, he chose to speak honestly. Sasaki frankly admitted, I really don't like fishing at all. To be honest, I extremely hate it. Unexpectedly, that confession made the manager like him even more. He said that, in fact, he needed someone who didn't know how to fish, so that person could stay and watch the shop while other team members went fishing. At that moment, Hana came in and heard about Sasaki's dislike for fishing. She curiously asked the reason. and Sasaki explained that he couldn't stand the fishy smell. At the cashier counter, which was busy at that time, Takagi had to rush out to help because Hana had gone inside. Before returning to the counter, Hana hinted that she wanted to invite Sasaki to go with her tomorrow. The next day, the two of them went together to an amusement park. Two others, Kozu and Ice, also came along. Sasaki appeared very confused because he didn't understand the purpose of today's outing. After a while, the group arrived at a special area in the park, an artificial fishing pond. Kozu heard Sasaki say that he didn't like fishing, so she explained, "This place is a swimming pool in the summer. But from autumn onwards, it is converted into a fishing area." Ice happily invited Sasaki, "Then next summer, you should come here to swim with us." Hana didn't say much, but declared clearly, "Today, I want to have a fishing contest with you. Last time, the base fish was undecided. Today we have to settle it once and for all." The contest quickly began. Kozu was the instructor for Sasaki today. Unlike last time, this time the group used bamboo rods and real bait. Kozu gave specific instructions. First, you need to prepare the bait so that it fits perfectly on the hook. Over here, Takagi caught the second fish. Kozu continued to teach everyone how to adjust the float according to the water layer. She explained that depending on the day and time, fish will swim at different depths. If the bait is at the right water level where the fish are, the chance of catching fish will increase. After finishing the adjustments, the angler will cast the bait into the water. Next, they just need to let the current carry the bait and wait for a bite. Occasionally, the angler also has to check if the bait is still there. Kozu has completed her tutorial task. As expected, many people came to this area to fish. Meanwhile, Sasaki still hasn't caught a single fish. He saw fish jumping on the water's surface, so he adjusted his float. However, the result was that he kept failing. When he smelled the bait, he found the smell horrible. Even so, Sasaki kept on fishing persistently. This time, a fish bit his bait. He pulled the rod with all his might. A fairly big fish was caught on his line. However, this time the hook broke, so he failed again. Hana acknowledged that the fish just now was quite big, and guessed it might have been a Naria salmon. Sasaki wondered if it was possible to catch such big fish with just a bamboo rod. As expected, he was forced to switch to a different rod. Even so, he still believed that fishing didn't suit him. Hana said that if everything went well from the beginning, it wouldn't be fun anymore. After that, Sasaki decided to start over. This time, Hana gave him more thorough guidance. Fish started biting Sasaki's bait again. While reeling the fish in, Sasaki recalled Hana's words. This time, he succeeded and was very happy to catch his first fish. On the other side, Hana also just caught a Naria salmon. Hana was being pulled by the fish, but luckily Sasaki pulled her back. Sasaki felt quite awkward about touching Hana, but Hana didn't really care since she was determined to catch that fish. Next came Hana's struggle to reel in the fish. Sasaki watched and had to admit that Hana was really skilled. Even with just a bamboo rod, she could still fight against such a big fish. Hana wanted Sasaki to get the net for her and told him to calmly scoop the fish up. As a result, they succeeded. Hana was very happy and shouted loudly. That afternoon, the competition results were announced as follows. Takagi caught 11 fish. Ice caught 8 fish. Kozu caught 6 fish. And Hana and Sasaki each caught 5 fish. Hana felt annoyed that she tied with Sasaki. The whole group was hungry, so they decided to cook the fish they had caught. Hana continued guiding Sasaki on how to prepare the fish. Sasaki felt shocked and scared. After 77 steps and another 49 steps, they finally finished preparing the fish. The whole group enjoyed the delicious grilled fish together and invited Sasaki to eat too. Sasaki also tried the fish, and admitted that it was really tasty. Hana asked Sasaki once more if he still hated fishing. Sasaki didn't seem to hate it anymore. Hana was delighted by his answer. Takagi hoped that Sasaki would continue to improve like this. As the group was getting ready to head back, Sasaki suddenly ran into an old acquaintance. He felt awkward. Sasaki lied that he had a stomachache and left. After that, he kept running away. He ran down to a nearby train station and got on a train. He thought that working part-time at a convenience store might not be as easy as he had imagined. Meanwhile, Takagi's group was waiting for Sasaki to return. They didn't understand where Sasaki would go, since he still had a home to return to. Sasaki found a 24-hour internet cafe. After that, he rented a room to stay overnight. He admitted that this place was still the best place to spend the night. Taking out his phone, he saw that his debt had piled up even more. He didn't know what he should do anymore. Flashing back to the past, the results of the mock university exam were announced. Sasaki had done fairly well. At school, he saw that everyone else was carefree. Even though he got into a prep school, studying seriously didn't seem very meaningful to him. At that time, Sasaki started getting involved in the forex market. He stepped into the world of international currency trading. Instead of studying hard to get a job, he saw making money through forex as a much better option. Two classmates came to find Sasaki and wanted to learn how to trade forex. Sasaki was happy to help because he was confident he had been trading for quite a while. But things didn't go smoothly at all. He kept receiving reports of losses. However, he still believed there was definitely a chance to recover. Sasaki turned to loan sharks to borrow money, still believing that if he won just one trade, he could pay off all his debts. But life never goes the way you expect. In the end, Sasaki ended up failing completely once again. His classmates discovered how bad things had gotten and were shocked. Sasaki continued to run away. And from then on, his life became dark and full of hardship. Illness also came to him. The next day, Takagi told Hana that Sasaki still hadn't come home. The cat was following Takagi at the time. He didn't think Sasaki would give up his part-time job. Hana said there was no need to worry too much, because when he got hungry, Sasaki would definitely come back. Takagi thought so too, because Sasaki was very much like the cat. Suddenly, the manager wanted to go striped dogfish shark fishing. The reward for catching that shark was 1 million yen. When they arrived, there were many anglers present, all radiating intense killing intent. The manager was thinking that if he won the 1 million yen, he would buy his own boat. Takagi thought about buying a fully equipped fishing vehicle. Everyone there said that catching a striped dogfish shark was not easy at all. Then the group began the fishing process. It was Hana's first time trying to catch a shark. The group chatted and waited for a fish to bite. After a while, Takagi's fishing rod started to move. The group didn't notice that Sasaki was fishing right next to them. When Takagi reeled in his line, it got tangled with Sasaki's fishing line. As it turned out, because of the 1 million yen reward, Sasaki had come here too. Takagi didn't understand why Sasaki disappeared without saying a word. He successfully untangled the fishing lines. After that, the group continued the fishing process. Sasaki's fishing rod and line were tools he had bought at a nearby home goods store. Takagi thought that using fake bait would make it difficult to catch a shark, because shark fishing required proper equipment. Takagi also helped Sasaki prepare his bait again. The money Sasaki used to buy the fishing rod came from playing games. Takagi already knew about Sasaki's debts, because the two friends in the parking lot the other day had told him about it. Sasaki only said that he was in a lot of debt. A fish bit Sasaki's line. However, Sasaki was still confused about what to do next. Takagi continued guiding Sasaki on how to fish. Sasaki tried his best to reel in the line. Sasaki's group of loan sharks had also come to this fishing spot. The group spotted Sasaki's location. Immediately, the loan sharks started demanding their money back. Everyone was waiting for Sasaki's result. Hana and Takagi hoped Sasaki would stay calm. Sasaki felt that the fish was very heavy. Hana was certain that the fish would get tired too, so she advised Sasaki to be patient. Just as Hana was thinking about the 1 million yen reward, the loan sharks got closer. Sasaki handed the rod to Takagi and ran off to find someone who could help. Next came a chase between the debtor and the loan sharks. After that, it was Takagi's turn to run away to avoid the loan sharks. Sasaki kept running like he always did. After a while, the whole group stopped to catch their breath, then resumed the chase. Takagi tried to keep up. One by one, the loan sharks couldn't run anymore and had to stop. But Sasaki kept running. Finally, when he was completely out of breath, Sasaki stopped. He felt exhausted from all the debt. Takagi caught up with Sasaki. Sasaki acted as if nothing concerned him. Even so, he still felt anxious. Everyone acknowledged that Sasaki was incredibly resilient. They hadn't expected the two of them to run all the way out here. Takagi continued to ask more about Sasaki's debts. But Sasaki kept lying. Takagi was certain that as long as Sasaki worked, he would have time to repay his debts. Because even if you borrow money, you still have to pay it back. Sasaki felt angry because he thought it was his own personal matter. He admitted that nothing ever goes smoothly. At this moment, everything seemed so meaningless. He thought that maybe he shouldn't have existed in this world. Takagi heard those words and recalled his own past. He suggested to Sasaki that they start over together and stop running away. At this point, Sasaki had no home and no money. He saw life as something without a reset button. Takagi offered to cover the money for Sasaki and said Sasaki could stay at his place. In return, Sasaki would owe Takagi instead. He said that if they did that, things would be okay. Meanwhile, the manager was still reeling in the fishing rod. By evening, they were about to succeed. But the fish caught wasn't a striped dogfish. It was just a big stingray. Everyone left afterward. Hana thought that stingray could be turned into many delicious dishes. Sasaki and Takagi went home together, ready to start fresh the next day. Sasaki began working part-time at a convenience store. His dream of turning his life around officially became working part-time at a convenience store. Sasaki worked very hard, although he had no experience. His ability to learn was very good. Takagi and the manager had time to go fishing. Customers at the store kept asking to buy items that gave Sasaki a headache. Truly, he felt this place was unlike any convenience store he had ever known. After that, Sasaki had to continue working. Sasaki couldn't fully understand all the different fishing goods. Hana was very skilled. She could clearly remember the names and uses of every type of lure. She explained each detail clearly. However, Sasaki couldn't understand anything she was saying. He felt completely confused and frustrated. That evening at home, Takagi talked with Sasaki. Sasaki was studying information about different types of fishing lures. Takagi gave Sasaki a key. It was a house key, so Sasaki could come and go more easily. The key had a small sinker on it with the weight clearly labeled. Takagi explained that each type of sinker has a specific weight. If Sasaki wanted to understand better, he should go ask Hana. The next day, Sasaki didn't dare ask Hana about the things he didn't understand. Suddenly, a customer came to ask him about fishing rods and fishing lines. Sasaki didn't know what those were. Fortunately, Hana appeared and helped Sasaki. After carefully analyzing, she confirmed that everything was fine. The customer thanked Hana and left. Sasaki was stunned by Hana's expertise. Work continued until the evening. Sasaki still couldn't believe Hana could remember everything so clearly. Suddenly, a customer paid for his purchase. He even gave extra change to pay. This made Hana's head feel like it was going to explode from having to calculate. Seeing that, Sasaki stepped in to help Hana. Unexpectedly, Hana wasn't very good at calculating change. Afterwards, the two took a break together. Hana thanked Sasaki for helping her earlier. Sasaki didn't expect Hana to be good at fishing but not good at calculating change. Hana said she didn't like complicated people when it came to math like that. The manager came back into the room and saw a strange box. He tried opening the box to see inside. Indeed, it was all fishing bait. It turned out that Hana wanted to expand the business to sell fishing gear. The manager said many employees were thinking of quitting because they had to remember too many items. He hoped Hana wouldn't just do things on her own like that. Hana had to accept and said that she wanted to go to sleep. Sasaki was curious about Hana's going to sleep. Hana said her room was inside here. At that moment, Sasaki realized that Hana lived here. At 5 a.m., Hana started waking up. Then she freshened up and changed clothes to prepare for a new day. Early in the morning, Hana's first activity was fishing. After a while, she had caught a lot of fish. Then, Hana returned home to prepare her things and make breakfast for herself. Then she rode her bike on the way to school. When she arrived in class, Hana fell asleep again. When the teacher passed by, she woke up. During the physical education class, she was very energetic. After lunch, Hana fell asleep again. A day of her studies had ended. Hana began her part-time job. Thus, another day had passed. Afterwards, Sasaki learned how Hana's day had gone by. The two chatted together at the shop. Hana suggested that after their shift they should go fishing together. because she thought theory was hard to remember. But practicing would help them learn better. Hana concluded the idea and continued on her way to school. Afterwards, their fishing appointment took place. Hana continued to provide knowledge about fishing to Sasaki. Today, the two would try 3 different types of bait. The first type was floating bait on the water surface. Next was sinking bait for the middle water layer. And finally, sinking bait at the bottom of the water layer. Hana wanted Sasaki to start trying each type one by one. He still admitted that fishing had too much information and technical terms that he did not fully understand. Hana also demonstrated so he could see. With floating bait on the water surface, you just need to cast the rod and turn the reel to pull the line. At that moment, small fish like a flock of pigeons panicked and fled right at the water surface. Hana continued to want Sasaki to try. He didn't know if a place like this could catch any fish or not. Then he finally started to try, just casting the rod and reeling in the line without being sure if there was a fish. On the other hand, the fact that he could cast the line far made him feel quite happy. Hana was focusing on finding a target. Sasaki admitted that although it was unfamiliar, it was quite fun. The manager also came. Then he joined Sasaki in fishing. Sasaki asked why Hana lived at the shop. He even thought Hana was the manager's daughter. But the manager seemed to explain and clear up the misunderstanding. The reason was that the shop belonged to the building owned by Hana's grandmother. The manager was just someone hired to work there. Sasaki took the opportunity to ask more about Hana's parents. The manager didn't know much but knew they were divorced. Hana's mother remarried later. When Hana reached high school, she decided to leave home and stay here. Although it seemed a bit childish, Hana was very thoughtful and mature. The manager was also unsure why Hana liked fishing so much. It got dark but Sasaki still hadn't caught a single fish, while Hana had caught a very big fish. Sasaki thought maybe it was because Hana was standing at a good spot. And Hana wanted to prove that to him. Using Sasaki's own fishing rod, she continued fishing. Hana reeled in the fishing line and then paused for a moment, because doing so would create a gap for the fish to bite the bait. Sure enough, just as she finished speaking, Hana hooked a fish immediately. Hana was extremely excited. After struggling with the fish for a while, Hana successfully lifted it out of the water. It was a very large sea bass. Sasaki thought it was probably because he hadn't been taught how to reel in the line and pause at the right time. Hana teased Sasaki back, saying that giving back change might work. But fishing definitely didn't. Then, Sasaki realized the real reason Hana invited him to go fishing was just to wait for the chance to say this line. However, she also seemed to have helped Sasaki learn a bit about fishing bait. Sasaki intended to stay and fish a bit longer, but Hana said the time was no longer suitable. She also said if Sasaki wanted to learn more about fishing, he should come find her. She would teach him. Yeah. Sasaki was teased so he could only accept his fate. Even so, he considered himself more mature. But in truth, he was more like a mischievous kid. The next day, after finishing his shift, Sasaki was brought his paycheck by the manager. Sasaki was very surprised. The manager hoped Sasaki would keep trying harder. Kozu congratulated Sasaki for receiving his first month's salary, and asked what he planned to do with the money. Sasaki thought he might buy a game console, or recharge his phone card, or play pachinko to his heart's content. Then he suddenly remembered Takagi, and thought he needed many things to really buy. Suddenly, Hana panicked, because she had forgotten to place an order. So it seemed she had lost everything. But then Sasaki reconsidered. Occasionally going to the store to buy things was fine too. After all, he had just received his paycheck. Sasaki didn't know what game Hana was planning to play on him. Then Kozu and Hana pulled him away immediately. Sasaki didn't understand what was happening, and was taken to a very large store. Hana arranged to meet Kozu again, while Kozu held Sasaki's hand and wanted him to go with her. Sure enough, compared to the store where Sasaki worked, this store was completely different. Hana was choosing items with great excitement. Kozu mentioned that they sold ready-made fishing rigs with hooks and sinkers here. Kozu continued to share more fishing knowledge with Sasaki, and said that the group would have a fishing trip at the breakwater this weekend. Kozu also invited Sasaki to join them. Hearing that, Sasaki felt a little embarrassed, but decided to buy a lot of gear since he had just received his paycheck. This time, Sasaki was determined to impress the girls, and ignored Takagi's advice. Sasaki wondered if having money for girls meant he could ask for anything. But fate said no. Having money for girls didn't mean he could demand things in his heart. Sasaki felt like he was dating a girlfriend. When he reached the fishing reel section, Sasaki saw a very fancy fishing reel. Hana said it was one of the best models, called Exceed. Sasaki thought since he was a beginner, he probably wouldn't buy it. But he was very curious about it. When he returned home and looked back, Sasaki admitted he had bought too many things. Takagi thought he was a bit wasteful, because he could have lent Sasaki some. He mentioned Sasaki's debt, but Sasaki added that it was because Kozu had helped him so enthusiastically. Sasaki explained that it wasn't because he liked it or wanted to look cool. Takagi hoped that next time Sasaki wouldn't do that again. Otherwise, Takagi would keep Sasaki's salary. That night, when going to sleep, Sasaki began researching the Exceed fishing reel. Sure enough, it was the ultimate fishing reel for anglers worldwide. The next day, Sasaki was sleep-deprived from staying up late. The fishing day started with traditional float fishing. Takagi chose to cast lightly with a bait-casting reel, while Hana used a line with many hooks. As soon as it was dropped, many fish bit the bait. The advantage of this type of line was that it could catch many fish at once. Sasaki thought he would choose to fish with artificial bait. Kozu wanted to be the instructor for light casting for Sasaki. Hearing that, Sasaki was very excited, drooling. At the start, Sasaki was very scared of the real bait. Kozu said that at this moment, one had to be indifferent. After a while, the bait was hooked onto the fishing hook. Sasaki also began to try. Then came the time to cast the fishing rod. Kozu didn't expect Sasaki to be so good. Sasaki took the opportunity to chat with Kozu, asking why she liked fishing even though she used to hate it. Kozu said that even now she still hated fishing. But on the other hand, eating fish was very delicious. Most especially, the person she liked also liked fishing. And that was Hana. Afterwards, she asked Sasaki in return if he had come to like fishing yet. Sasaki was very shy in front of Kozu's cuteness. Kozu said that sometimes he already liked fishing but just didn't realize it. Meanwhile, Takagi caught a grunt fish. Kozu admitted that fish was really great. She asked why he liked fishing. Takagi thought it was because the sea existed. The first time they met, Sasaki had asked that. Now, Takagi had understood that people love each other because love exists. So fishing is exactly the same. Sasaki didn't know why he didn't get bored of fishing. Takagi didn't know how to describe it. But the attraction of fishing was very strong. He was born in a coastal city, so he had been fishing since he was a child. At that time, he was praised a lot by the people around him for his talent. Day by day, his passion for fishing burned stronger. After starting work and earning money, he bought a lot of fishing gear. The old gear he gave all to his younger brother. Until now, Sasaki only just learned that Takagi had a younger brother. Takagi considered all those things as proof of his life. Kozu had just caught a mackerel. Hana was thinking of salted mackerel for tonight. Kozu was very happy because she was about to eat a delicious dish made from the fish she caught. So far, Sasaki hadn't caught a single fish. Takagi wanted Sasaki to try his bait-casting reel, hoping he would take good care of it. Sasaki admitted the bait-casting reel was really light. Because it was a versatile rod, it could be used to fish with both real and artificial bait. Sasaki tried casting the line and was able to fish very far. As soon as he lowered the rod, a fish bit the bait, so he caught his first fish. Sasaki continued fishing. Every time he cast down, another fish bit again. Takagi realized Sasaki was very happy. Then the whole group fished until the afternoon, and caught a lot of fish. The whole group returned together. Sasaki still looked at the Exceed fishing reel. The next day, without saying much, Sasaki secretly went to the place selling fishing reels. Kozu was also there. She even called a staff member to help Sasaki hold and examine the fishing reel more closely. Kozu guessed that Sasaki liked it very much, and advised him to work hard to buy it soon. Hana was also there, having prepared a northern fishing rod for Sasaki to try. In return, Sasaki immediately decided to buy this fishing rod and reel. Takagi didn't expect Sasaki to dare to spend as much as 130,000 yen. As promised before, Starting next month's salary, Takagi would be the one to keep the money. After that, Sasaki immediately wanted to try out his new fishing rod. He admitted that this was the pinnacle of technique accumulated over 60 years of history. Indeed, the advertisement was not wrong at all. Sasaki was very excited about his new fishing rod. Takagi also wanted to borrow it to try casting, but Sasaki refused to lend it. Early the next morning, Sasaki and Takagi went fishing together. Sasaki caught a fish again, this time unexpectedly catching a tigerfish. He didn't expect to catch a tigerfish right from the shore. Takagi said that tigerfish was very delicious but a bit difficult to prepare. But he had a method. He said that if they came to his restaurant, everything would be solved immediately. The two brought the fish to Arua to prepare it for them. Arua came to Japan to study cooking, and he dreamed of opening a Japanese restaurant in Thailand. He also wanted to become an action movie star. He didn't know what Sasaki's dream was. Indeed, when asked, Sasaki didn't know how to answer. After a while preparing the fish, everything was done. Ice came in to get her lunch. Arua had prepared a very delicious box of pad thai for her. When it was Sasaki's work shift, unexpectedly, he encountered a customer who spoke Chinese. Sasaki didn't know how to respond, so he just said he would reply later. The manager also had to give up in this situation. Sasaki was forced to apologize in English, but the customer still communicated in Chinese. At this moment, Sister Ice appeared and could speak Chinese. The two communicated for a while before the customer left. Sasaki hadn't realized until now that it was Sister Ice. He didn't expect she could transform into so many different people. Indeed, makeup had turned a person into someone else. She is currently a model. She learned Chinese from her Chinese friend. She told Sasaki a lot about herself, and even invited him to go to Thailand together. The whole group would go together, and she was planning it with Hana. Sasaki said he didn't have a passport yet, but she didn't care and had already made the decision. After that, the whole group went fishing together. Everyone realized that Sasaki had misunderstood, because when they mentioned Thailand, the group was actually talking about Thai rubber, a type of fish bait. Today, Kozu did not join the whole group, because she was seasick, so she declined. The group had also boarded the boat. Today they fished by dropping the line straight down, so Sasaki was not allowed to bring his new fishing rod. Takagi gave Tai a rubber, a type of lure specialized for fishing snapper. The boat officially departed. After a while of moving, the sky began to brighten, and the boat arrived at the fishing spot. This fishing rod only needs to be clamped under the armpit. Then press the locking lever down so the bait will sink. The target this time is the red snapper. They usually live in deep water. When the bait touches the bottom, the reel will stop. Then just reel it up about 10 turns and drop it down again. The advantage of this vertical fishing rod is a stable reeling speed. The red snapper's habit is to chase the lure as it moves up and down. Hana's fishing rod already had a fish biting. At that time, just slowly reel the line at a steady, slow speed. The manager was also ready to hold the net. The first red snapper belonged to Hana. The group continued the fishing process. The whole group was very focused on fishing. Sasaki was already bored because no fish had bitten his line for a long time. After a while, the boat moved to another spot. The fishing process continued. Hana and Takagi kept catching fish. Sasaki felt frustrated because he hadn't caught a single one. The boat kept moving. Sasaki began showing signs of seasickness. His head started to feel dizzy. Sister Ice helped support him. After a while, he had recovered. In exchange, it was her turn to get seasick. The whole group rested and ate on the boat. Sasaki and Sister Ice both had little energy left. They talked together. After a while, Sasaki felt better. She was just like him. The two decided to return and continue fishing. All day today, the group had only caught 3 red snappers. The group still tried hard to keep fishing. Arua just successfully caught a fish. After that, it was the manager's turn to catch a fish. Uncle Fujishiro with the pointed nose also caught a fish. Finally, Sasaki's fishing rod also had a fish biting. Hana and Takagi hoped he would stay calm. On the other side, Sister Ice was also trying to catch fish like him. Both of them had fish biting their lines at the same time. Both were determined to succeed. So both succeeded and caught their first fish. They also high-fived each other to celebrate. After that, the group was luckier and things went more smoothly. They caught a lot of fish. Hana still caught the biggest fish of the day. In the afternoon, the group returned. Sasaki was exhausted. Everyone else in the group still had plenty of energy. Afterward, Sasaki had a conversation with Sister Ice. She told him that even if everything ended for him, everything around would still go on. Therefore, we should live our lives to the fullest. Returning home at night, he didn't sleep but reflected on the words of Arua and Sister Ice. The next day, he got to continue his life again. He finished his shift and returned home. Unexpectedly, everyone organized a welcome party for him to the endless plains. No. To every mart, the group had prepared a lavish meal for him, including dishes made from the fish they caught the day before. Sister Ice was the one who suggested this party. Everyone noticed Sasaki wasn't very happy, so Sister Ice helped cheer him up. After that, the meal's main dish prepared by Arua was served. The group happily enjoyed the feast together, savoring the delicious fish dishes they had caught. Sasaki suddenly remembered lonely memories from his past. Then he burst into tears. Hana noticed this, and guessed that he was crying because he was too happy. Sasaki kept denying it over and over. The next day, the girls in the group chatted together. Uncle Fujishiro left first. After that, Hana arranged to meet him on Sunday. The group still didn't understand Uncle Fujishiro very well. Indeed, there are still many mysteries surrounding him. The appointment on Sunday was at the Shokoku fishing area. Kozu asked for permission to come along. Sister Ice was busy working a shift at the store that day. Hana suggested Sasaki go along to fish for sardines. The next day, he began researching information about sardines, a fish that grows only up to 20 centimeters long. He thought they were too small. Takagi noticed he didn't like them much. Sasaki said it was because he just got a new fishing rod and was aiming for bigger fish, like in the show he and Takagi watched yesterday, which was Fish Dreamer. After watching it, Sasaki really wanted to catch a big fish like that. Kozu didn't know how to fish for sardines. Takagi explained that it's called sabiki fishing. Sasaki disliked that even more upon hearing it. The next day, the group woke up early and got ready to leave. Uncle Fujishiro's new car had just arrived. The group didn't expect it to be a restricted vehicle, so they had to take Takagi's car. Sasaki still didn't understand why they were going sardine fishing. Hana said the purpose of this trip was to eat the fish. After a while of traveling, the whole group arrived at the spot. Uncle Fujishiro got out of the car and immediately greeted everyone, then started fishing right away. There were many people here also fishing. Hana began preparing the bait. Sasaki was curious about Uncle Fujishiro, to the point that even Takagi had to admit this uncle was very mysterious, and learned that he graduated from a prestigious university. Sasaki acknowledged that the convenience store where he worked was full of very interesting people. It was 9 a.m. The group started fishing for sardines. Sasaki was still afraid to use real bait. This time, they put the bait in a basket, then dropped the fishing line into the water. The bait would gradually dissolve in the water. Fish would gather and start biting the hooks. Sasaki caught a fish, but it was not a sardine. Hana said it was a bait fish. Indeed, sardines and anchovies look very similar. The group continued fishing. Sasaki felt bored again because no fish bit his line. When he pulled the line up, the bait was all gone. After that, he even got hooked on the hand by the fishing hook. It was very painful and uncomfortable. Feeling very frustrated, Sasaki asked Hana if he could fish using artificial bait. Hana replied that it was possible, and recently there were even floating bait fish. Sasaki decided to change his fishing method. He went to get his fancy fishing rod from the car, looking for a suitable spot where no one was around. Sasaki looked just like in the show Fish Dreamer. He prepared and was ready. First, he chose artificial bait, at a depth of 15 meters. He picked the right artificial bait. The bait had the ability to attract fish and be cast far. He started casting his rod, but nothing happened, so he switched to another bait. After that, he kept trying to fish, but this time failed completely because the bait broke off the line. Failure is the mother of success. He was determined not to give up. This time, he aimed at a target 70 meters away, but failed again. After that, he suddenly spotted a flock of birds. Usually, there are many fish gathering under flocks of birds. Sasaki felt like he was blending into the wild nature. Continuing to change bait, Hannah suddenly appeared, startling him. She pointed out the flock of birds and said there must be big fish below, because they gather there to hunt prey. Hannah also chose bait for Sasaki. He hooked the bait and got ready to fish again. Hannah left, reminding him to cast carefully. Sasaki kept casting and reeling continuously. Indeed, this time a fish bit the hook. The fish pulled very hard. He thought it must be a big fish. He struggled with it with all his might, but there was no one around, so he didn't know how to net the fish. After a while, the fish got away. It was bitterly painful, more painful than level 7 spicy ramen. When he returned, he saw his friends catching many sardines. He also admitted that here, artificial bait was completely useless. In return, the whole group completely ignored him. Indeed, they had caught a lot of fish. Then, just as a fish bit the hook, Kozu wanted Sasaki to handle it. He pulled up the rod and sure enough, there were many fish. Hannah hoped he would keep fishing. So, Sasaki tried fishing for sardines again. Joy returned to Sasaki. Uncle Fujishiro was also doing very well. The uncle was fishing alone with as many as 3 rods. Hannah scored another catch. The whole group continued to fully enjoy a great day of fishing together. Sasaki admitted that fishing with the group was much more fun than being alone. The group fished until the afternoon and ended up with a full bucket of fish. Everyone cleaned up together to head back. Sasaki suddenly saw a fish moving very strongly. He promised next time he would definitely conquer a big fish. Then, back at the store, the group had a meal with the fish they caught. They all enjoyed the delicious dishes that Arua prepared. Sasaki admitted the food was truly amazing. After today, he also realized an important thing. No matter what kind of fish you want to catch, preparation and thorough research are the most important. Uncle Fujishiro reaffirmed once again that whether the fish is big or small, as long as fishing is fun, that's what matters. The next day, fishing activities continued. Manager Machida was confused because he didn't know how meeting Little Yu on Sunday would be. Sasaki wondered who Little Yu was. Ice explained that Little Yu was the manager's son. The manager didn't know where to go. He even suddenly thought about going fishing somewhere. Hannah thought that was a good idea because fishing with family is very nice. So the manager decided to go fishing with his son. But he wanted to pick a place that was not dangerous. Sasaki suggested he try fishing for gobies. Because lately Sasaki had seen many parents taking their kids fishing for gobies. The manager thought goby fishing was boring. Ice suggested going to Kurori Park. He then found out that there were few fish there recently. Hannah suggested fishing with artificial bait in the river. But since Little Yu was only in 3rd grade, it would be dangerous and very difficult. After some consideration, he chose Sasaki's idea, because anyway, that was the safest. After that, surprisingly, Hannah, Takagi, and Sasaki also arrived. The 3 promised not to disturb the manager. Little Yu also met his father. The father and son went for a walk and talked together. But since they hadn't seen each other much, both were shy. Sasaki's group was watching both of them. The father and son Machida had also arrived at the fishing spot. Yu was guided by his father on how to fish for gobies. Sasaki's group joined in fishing on the other side. The manager asked about his son's studies. But Yu didn't expect his father to ask about the Stone Age. Because he was studying for his middle school entrance exam. Although he was only in 3rd grade, he considered that normal. Yu's fishing rod just got a bite but he didn't have time to reel it in. The manager wanted to help him fix the bait, but Yu wanted to do it himself. Sasaki's group was still trying to keep track of the situation. Yu wasn't focused so he couldn't reel the fish in again. His father advised him to fish near that rock, because gobies usually gather there. Then Yu continued fishing. Sure enough, this time, Yu successfully caught his first fish. His father also taught him more about the behavior of gobies. Hannah saw that things were starting to go smoothly. In just a short time, Yu and his father had caught quite a few fish. Yu asked his father how he had been lately. His father said he was still happy and spent his days fishing as before. Yu recalled the time when the whole family went fishing together. Little Yu remembered every detail of that day clearly. But in return, his father couldn't remember the exact day they went fishing. He just guessed roughly which time it was. The father and son continued talking about fishing. Machida made a deal with his son. If Yu caught a fish 20 centimeters long, he could buy anything he wanted. But Yu didn't want anything at all. Then he wanted to go fish a bit on the other side. Hana thought Yu wouldn't catch any more fish. Hana asked Sasaki to look after Yu for a while. Hana would go over there to talk with the manager. Sasaki trembled as he approached Yu. He didn't know what to say. Yu was very polite when he learned Sasaki worked with his father. The two then fished together. Sasaki didn't know how to talk to kids. Just as he was about to turn and ask, a group of 3 kids came up asking him questions non-stop. Yu had just successfully caught another fish. The kids group switched to chatting with Yu. Then, the kids group learned that there were bigger fish elsewhere. So they left. The manager was very sad because his plan had failed. Suddenly, Sasaki came to report that Yu had something to say. He asked about the ageless black sea bream. Takagi had just returned after going to the restroom. He said that the sea bream was so big that its age couldn't be determined. Hearing that, Yu wanted even more to catch that fish at least once. He made a counter condition to his father. If he caught that fish, he hoped his father could come home with him. Hana had agreed to replace her manager. The manager was extremely confused. Then, he talked privately with Hana for a bit. He feared that the other side had no intention of reconciliation. Hana firmly believed that an ageless 50 cm sea bream wouldn't be here. So if it was caught here, it would definitely be a miracle. Then, the manager returned to his child as well. He also wanted his child to just keep trying with that. After that, the father and son continued their fishing together. The manager still explained the questions that his child didn't know. Yu continued to ask permission to go elsewhere to fish. It was already evening, but Yu still didn't want to go home, because he knew that the black sea bream was most active just before dawn and sunset. He had just learned that. Then, knowing his child was thirsty, the manager went to buy some water and hoped his child would try a little longer. Takagi's group decided to stay a bit longer. The manager asked the whole group and Yu to help him. By evening, Yu's fishing rod had been bitten by a fish. Takagi and Hana came to encourage him to keep trying. A fairly large sea bream had hooked Yu's fishing rod. After a while, he succeeded in netting it. Hana guessed the fish was probably bigger than 50 centimeters. She intended to measure it, but Yu suddenly wanted to release it. He wanted to release the fish as soon as possible, because he thought his father might not want to come back. But Sasaki firmly believed his father wanted to return, because his father had changed the fishing line to help him catch a big fish. The manager had witnessed everything so far. That fish was also released back. Then, upon returning, Yu lied that he didn't catch any ageless sea bream. The father and son then parted ways. Yu still happily hoped that one day his whole family would go fishing together. Then came the time to say goodbye. The manager wanted to say something but couldn't. Then everyone continued to return home. The manager wanted all 3 of them to go back first. In the afternoon, Hana also took a picture of the father and son. The manager was still very happy with what he experienced with his son today. Typhoon number 23, very strong, had just made landfall. Takagi had a hard time just getting to the store. The weather forecast said the rain would get heavier. Hana planned to go fishing but Takagi stopped her because there was a dangerous storm. Hana intended to lie that she was just going to check the weather. But Takagi already knew Hana's lie. Then Hana lied again that she was going to buy water. But Takagi didn't allow her to go. When it was Sasaki's shift, he was so free that he learned how to tie fishing lines. Hana warned him not to go fishing today at all. Sasaki knew that well because the weather was stormy. Machida was bored because the store was struggling this month and now the storm had come. Indeed, with weather like this, nobody could do anything, although they knew bad weather might make fishing easier, because of the fish's vision and behavior, along with many other factors. However, people shouldn't take such risks. Sister Ice was hungry, so she went out to buy something to eat. The manager was troubled by the revenue and the employees' salaries and bonuses. Sasaki was still failing to learn how to tie fishing lines. Sister Ice bought a lot of food. Then, everyone returned to eat together. The whole group just killed time in the room. They happily chatted together. They played this and that with each other. Then, the group started gathering ingredients for Arua to cook. Sasaki still hadn't succeeded in learning the fishing line tying technique. He continued to calculate the expenses for the store members. Machida advised him to try tightening the braided part of the line. Then, Arua began cooking. Hana and Takagi kept playing together. The whole group was very happy together. Sister Ice wanted to help Arua cook. Then it was Takagi's turn to find Sasaki to pay for the purchases. Machida tasted Arua's food and admitted it was very delicious. Sister Ice made a hot pot for the group to enjoy. Next, Machida went shopping at his own store. The whole group in the room had a big drinking party together. Suddenly, a customer came into the shop. Surprisingly, it was Sasaki's debt collector group. Both sides seemed to have met by chance and had no intention to startle him. The boss lady of the debt collectors just appeared and fainted again. The debt collectors were helped by Sasaki's store to wash up and rest. The whole group was also very hungry. The hot pot had just started with tofu added. The boss lady of the debt collectors brought out a sea devil fish. That was the gift the group was forced to accept instead of the loan interest. Two younger members got some green onions and rice balls. Afterward, Arua began preparing the fish. Arua was very skilled at processing fish. After a while of preparation, everything was done. The group all joined hands to prepare for a party. Everything for the hot pot was ready. Then it was time to enjoy the meal. Everyone ate together and agreed the fish meat was excellent. Indeed, it was truly a rare and precious fish. Takagi had started to get drunk from drinking a bit too much. The group then had a joyful drinking party together. They continued with crispy fried sea devil fish. The manager seemed to think that having such a gathering once in a while was quite reasonable. Hana noticed that Sasaki still hadn't learned how to tie the fishing line. The debt collectors wondered about the work he was doing, so Hana explained everything clearly to everyone. Takagi seemed to have grown fond of fishing. Sasaki also admitted that standing and waiting was very tiring and made his legs hurt. But after catching a fish, the feeling was completely different. That sense of satisfaction was hard to put into words. Being happy together with everyone was something he had never experienced before. It was truly a very new experience. He decided he would continue fishing. He was determined to conquer big fish on his own. Sasaki succeeded in tying the fishing line. Hana wanted to see the artificial bait that he had used last time to catch a big fish. Indeed, there were bite marks on the bait. Takagi thought it was a Japanese mackerel. This fish is a migratory species from the mackerel family and can grow up to 1 meter long. Hana firmly believed that he would catch a big fish. The rain had stopped. The debt collectors asked permission to leave. Before leaving, the boss lady told Sasaki that if he had any difficulties, he could come to her. She would take care of him. The party continued. The next day, when the group planned to go fishing for big fish, manager Machida had to go to the hospital for a checkup. The reason was that Mr. Fujishiro had slipped and fallen while skateboarding. Fearing danger, he went to get checked just to be sure. The group was on the way to the hospital. When they arrived, Sasaki lied that he had an urgent matter and had to leave immediately. Then suddenly ran away. The group didn't understand why he acted that way. Sasaki didn't expect he would have to go to the hospital. While fishing, he remembered his illness. Takagi didn't understand why Sasaki had gone home. The two ate together, and Takagi wanted to know how Sasaki was doing today. Sasaki continued to lie, saying everything was normal. Takagi told him that the manager was also fine. Sasaki still remembered the doctor saying he only had about 2 years to live. He firmly believed he might be okay, because there were no worrying signs at the moment. However, the next day, he suffered from severe stomach pain that was unbearable. Takagi called to ask for a shift change to help Sasaki. Afterwards, the two bumped into each other, and Sasaki rushed straight into the bathroom. Takagi thought he might have had food poisoning from eating mackerel from the fridge the day before. Sasaki also thought it might just be food poisoning. Takagi agreed with that idea. When they arrived at the shop, Ice asked about Sasaki. She felt there was something suspicious about him, because she had previously asked him what he would do if he only had 2 years left to live. Hearing that, Takagi recalled that he had also told Sasaki he didn't have much time left. He confirmed that with Ice once again. The next day, Hana and Sasaki went on a sea bass fishing trip together. Hana said this was the right time to catch this kind of fish. And this fishing trip required patience with the fishing spot to succeed. Hana had once caught a sea bass that was 95 centimeters long. The two also met up with Takagi, and the three began fishing. After a while, the first person to catch a fish was Hana. The two young men were very frustrated. Fishing continued until evening. Then Hana had to start her shift. And she was the first to leave. Finally, Sasaki's fishing rod got a bite. But before he could celebrate, the fish slipped away. He and Takagi continued fishing. After a while, the nearby bridge lit up beautifully. Takagi reminded Sasaki that he had been fishing for nearly half a year. And they had also been together for about that long. Takagi didn't understand why Sasaki hadn't disappeared, since before he had said he wouldn't live long. Sasaki continued to lie that the story was just a joke. Takagi told him about the question he had asked Ice, and happened to discover on Sasaki's phone searches about another illness. Indeed, Takagi felt that something was wrong. Takagi also shared that his younger brother had died 3 years ago due to illness, so that's why he asked Sasaki so many questions. And he apologized for that. The two went home together. On the way, Sasaki suddenly recalled the health checkup in university, and was advised to go to the hospital for a thorough examination. Indeed, he had an illness, but felt he showed no serious symptoms. Takagi advised him to go to the hospital, and said he would go with him if he was worried. The next day, as they prepared for their shifts, Sasaki rested a little, while Takagi kept messaging to ask about his medical checkup. Sasaki admitted that Takagi was truly a kind person. By the afternoon, a customer arrived. The customer came looking for Takagi. But today Takagi was not working, so the man decided to come back later. Sasaki didn't know what was going on, and said that he and Takagi were currently living together. That man was none other than Takagi's father. He was surprised because he hadn't expected Takagi to have left home without telling his family 3 years ago. Sasaki mentioned the younger brother, and when the man heard about it, he asked Sasaki to pass on a message, if there was a chance, at least visit his younger brother's grave, saying that the family wished for it. After learning this, Sasaki was very curious, not realizing that Takagi had many things that he had never known about. After a while, the two returned home, but Sasaki still hadn't made an appointment for a medical checkup. Takagi didn't want Sasaki to keep delaying this, which led to an argument between the two. Sasaki tried to leave but was stopped by Takagi. Takagi hoped Sasaki would stop avoiding things. But Sasaki thought the one avoiding was actually Takagi. He recounted what had happened at the convenience store today. He saw that Takagi's present situation was no different from his own. When the topic of visiting his younger brother's grave came up, Takagi suddenly got angry, saying that it was none of his business. The two continued to argue, worrying about others while not taking care of themselves. Sasaki confessed that he was very scared, afraid that tomorrow might never come, and felt trembling just thinking about it. Finally, Takagi decided to leave the house. Sasaki angrily smashed things in the house, intending to break a glass but remembered it was a gift from Takagi. So he stopped. Thus, Sasaki stopped, though he felt deeply disappointed inside. Last night, Takagi slept in his car, woke up early, drank a can of coffee to stay alert, and kept thinking. Manager Machida was officially discharged from the hospital and returned to the store, cleaning a box of fishing gear during his free time at the hospital. Sasaki arrived at the store at that time. Everything with Machida was going smoothly. He wondered why Takagi hadn't come today. Asked Sasaki, who replied that he was covering Takagi's shift. Hana thought that maybe the two had argued, but Machida said that arguing without doing anything more is not acceptable. Everyone did not know what the two had argued about. Sasaki said that he was the one who was angry, then ignored other people's feelings, always thinking he was right. The manager thought Takagi was still at home, but Sasaki said he had left home and did not come back last night. Currently no one knows when he will return. Hana believed that he would come back anyway. After that, Ice learned about the matter from Kozu. Then Ice told Arua. Indeed, everything became more complicated. Sasaki returned home after a day of work, and sure enough, his friend still had not come back. He reread the message advising Takagi to go to the hospital for a checkup, still wondering why he did not take care of himself but kept worrying about others. Suddenly, Sasaki received a call from Hana. The next day the two went fishing together. Sasaki was terrible at fishing, clearly not focused at all. Hana patiently guided him once again, because he had forgotten all the basic steps. Even the way to turn the fishing rod was carefully explained again. If you keep doing that, how will you catch any fish? Sasaki was about to say, then turned to see Hana casting the rod very skillfully. She said fish are very sensitive, so if you're not serious, the fish will definitely detect it immediately. The two fished together until evening, then sat down and chatted happily. Sasaki told a story about someone coming to look for Takagi at the shop the other day. Hana guessed that it was surely related to the argument between the two. Sasaki continued to lie, saying it was because Takagi's family was a bit worried. Hana realized that she seldom confided in Takagi. Mostly they talked about fishing, part-time work, and some trivial matters, but she thought that was quite normal. At the shop, everyone was very relaxed, because, I am me. Takagi is Takagi. That's why, for her, it was home, and she also felt that Takagi was comfortable there too. The argument between the two wasn't really a bad thing. Hana told Sasaki that she didn't want to argue just to keep the relationship, and thought both probably believed they were wrong. So if they wanted to make up, just apologizing would be enough. Sasaki laughed and replied, but the other person isn't even here to apologize to. Isn't that right, miss? Suddenly, Hana remembered the first time Sasaki fell into the river. It was Takagi who tried his best to save him. Sasaki also began to recall. And sure enough, that was true, and he thought he definitely had to thank Takagi. It seemed this was no longer the time for fishing, so going to find Takagi would be better. Hana thought the opposite. If you go fishing, you will surely meet him, because I believe right now Takagi can only be at the fishing spot. The next day, right after finishing his shift, Sasaki clocked out and then started on his way, deciding to ride his bike to look for a suitable fishing spot. At night, back home, he still diligently studied more about fishing, fully focused on practicing. The effort gradually paid off. He was very happy because he began to understand, not only people are attracted by beautiful night scenes, but fish are too. Sasaki continued casting his rod at night, day after day, still researching, learning. One day while fishing, he met an uncle. That day he hadn't caught a single fish at all. The uncle explained that lately the weather had been cold. There was a north wind and the tide was going down. The water temperature was low, so the fish were less active. The uncle advised that if you want to fish effectively, choose days with a south wind. Sasaki's knowledge about fishing gradually expanded. Indeed, time and environment are very important. As long as you prepare thoroughly, practice what you have learned, you will surely catch fish. Arua just successfully caught a big fish. Sasaki happily continued casting his rod. Back at home, he decided to face his illness, contacted the hospital and made an appointment. The next day, after work, everyone invited him to go fishing in the park. But because he was busy going to the hospital, he couldn't go. Everyone didn't know the reason. Only Ice felt that he was very different since morning. Kozu thought to herself, maybe Sasaki already had a girlfriend. While Ice guessed he was preparing for his first date, everyone kept guessing about his situation. Sasaki once again affirmed that it was not the case. Then he returned under the rain, telling himself to just keep a positive spirit. After that, he went to the hospital for a checkup, and clearly understood his current condition. When leaving, Sasaki felt the south wind. The weather had just cleared after the rain. He recalled Takagi's advice, without saying much, immediately rode his bike on the way. After a while, he met Takagi again. The two saw each other, then continued walking together. Sasaki still lied that he happened to pass by here, but Takagi already knew his friend too well. Sasaki still didn't have the courage to explain everything to him. Takagi didn't want him to keep that attitude. Whatever it was, just say it out loud. However, Sasaki's shy nature still made him unable to speak up. The two arrived under a bridge and prepared to fish. Sasaki explained that his presence here was just a coincidence, because this place was suitable for sardine fishing. Takagi admitted that he had understood the way to fish, but planned to go somewhere else. Suddenly, a large number of fish came, forcing both to stay and fish together. Sasaki prepared his fishing rod and asked permission to try first. A very precise cast from him. Sasaki thought he had cast quite far, but Takagi said that casting far is not always better. Just after he finished speaking, Sasaki's rod had a bite. Both were very happy, but then remembered that they were still arguing. After fishing for a while, Takagi asked, "Is it really okay to fish at this time?" Isn't this supposed to be a time to relax and fish? Sasaki confirmed. Right now is exactly the time to fish. The two continued fishing. Sasaki began asking his friend, wondering why he came here today. If it was for the same reason as him. Sasaki said, today the rain just stopped. And there's a south wind. So the conditions are quite suitable for baitfish to gather. He also repeated Takagi's advice. That he should rest at least 2 days after the last fishing trip before going again. Takagi still thought it was just a coincidence. But said, since we've met, try going around fishing for bass and see how it goes. Sasaki happily agreed, and the two switched fishing spots. After a while, they caught their first fish. Happy. Then they remembered they were still arguing. Sasaki continued asking his friend, how have you been lately? Takagi replied, I've been living in my car. Sasaki was surprised, but he didn't seem to feel miserable and even enjoyed that life. The two continued fishing. Recently, the weather started to get colder. Just as Takagi was about to think, he saw Sasaki still very focused. Even though the weather was getting colder and it was past the fish feeding time. Sasaki was determined to keep fishing. Because today was the last chance. Sasaki also told his friend that he had gone to the hospital for a checkup. Takagi nodded. No wonder he had something to say. The two got absorbed in talking. The fish kept biting. Sasaki was a bit nervous because it might be a big fish. Takagi advised him to try again from his spot, changing the casting angle a bit so the fish wouldn't detect it. Sasaki tried again, casting like a professional angler. Sure enough, there was movement underwater. The fish officially bit his fishing line. Sasaki struggled with a fairly large fish, but still didn't know what to do next. He was so startled that he forgot the steps to take. Takagi reminded him, hold it down. Then lift the rod up. Slowly now. Don't panic. Be patient. Wait. It will weaken gradually. Indeed, the fish was very strong and big. Sasaki felt like one of the hooks had slipped off. The fish kept struggling fiercely. Takagi had already prepared the net. The two coordinated very well. But just when they thought success was near, the hook suddenly came loose. Fortunately, Takagi quickly used the net to catch the fish before it escaped. Sasaki was still trembling. He couldn't believe he had done it. Finally conquering the fish with his own hands. Awesome. Holy moly. He shouted. The measured length was 84 centimeters. Enough to reach the rancor level. But both decided to release the fish back into nature. Sasaki decided that tomorrow he would return home, call his parents, and continue his treatment in his hometown. Regarding the money he borrowed from Takagi, he couldn't pay it back immediately. Takagi said to take his time repaying. Sasaki also for the first time expressed something he had never confessed before, a word of thanks. Indeed, he owed Takagi many things. Yet he had always selfishly thought only of himself. The word of thanks was spoken. Takagi chuckled softly upon hearing it, knowing his friend was still not used to such words. This was truly Sasaki's first time. The two officially made peace, and went home together feeling relieved. The next morning, Sasaki woke up to find Takagi already awake, standing by the window, watching the scene outside. Snow had begun to fall. A truly beautiful sight early in the morning. In Tokyo, such heavy snow is very rare. Takagi suggested that Sasaki go outside to watch the snow with him. Tomorrow, Sasaki will return home. Takagi felt a bit hesitant because Sasaki had helped him cover shifts at the shop. But Sasaki regarded it as nothing. The two still chatted happily together. Suddenly, Sasaki threw a handful of snow at Takagi. He felt a little embarrassed when he saw his friend wasn't very happy. Takagi shared that he had done something similar with his younger brother. 3 years ago, they had a loud argument right at the hospital. His brother just wanted to go home. But just because of that, they fought. After that, his brother escaped from the hospital and met with an accident. Takagi thought he had truly cared for his brother. But in reality, he had only imposed his own thoughts on him. And because of that, he believed he was the cause of his brother's death. So he was scared and avoided everything. The more he ran away, Sasaki felt more fear, unable to turn back anymore. Gradually, his heart grew cold and barren. He thought his life had ended, even though he had tried hard studying to become an outstanding office worker. But in the end, he failed the university entrance exam, and debts kept piling up day by day. He also had to endure a cruel illness. Not understanding why his life was so unfortunate. But because of those things, Sasaki had the chance to meet Takagi, to learn and participate in fishing. And he thought he should continue living. Indeed, fishing was an incredibly enjoyable pleasure. That was also what Takagi's younger brother had once said to him. He couldn't hold back his tears, and silently thought it was true. Fishing is very interesting. The next day, Sasaki went to the shop and asked for leave, also informing that Takagi would soon return to the shop. Kozu was very sad to hear the news, and even prepared a gift for Sasaki. Sister Ice invited him to go to Thailand, while Arua couldn't get in touch with Hana. Arua knew Sasaki would leave today, so could only wish him all the best. Sasaki said goodbye to the shop for the last time, walking while recalling happy and sad memories with the members, especially the times fishing together. On the way, he met Hana again. She already knew about his resignation, and knew that yesterday he had caught a rancor fish measuring as long as 84 centimeters. Hana also boasted to him about a bigger fish, 2 centimeters longer than Sasaki's, and she was determined not to lose to Sasaki in this competition. Sasaki was very happy to hear that, and Hana gave him a fishing lure as a farewell gift. Before receiving the gift, Hana asked Sasaki a few questions about fishing, and he answered very naturally and easily. Hana hoped that one day soon, the two of them would go fishing together again. Then they said goodbye with joy and a promise. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had gone by. One day, everyone at the shop planned to go fishing as usual, suddenly receiving a message from Sasaki. When the group arrived at the fishing spot, Sasaki was already waiting there, wearing a friendly smile. That's the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, so you don't miss the next parts. Love you all.